Hello, everybody. Ali Duzette here, and we have a lot to talk about today. It's been a crazy day, and today we also had a planetary parade. Now, back in January, people were talking about the planetary parade, and I said I did not think that it was astrologically significant, which I still stand by that. I don't think that that one was astrologically significant. We'll see in the news every so often how, like, if you go outside at night, all the planets look like they're in a row and it like looks cool. It probably does have some kind of, significance, like spiritual significance, but like in terms of the actual geometrical relationships between the planets, it's not always as cool as it looks visually, when we actually dig into what's going on with the planets. But in terms of their relationships to each other, which is what this is all about. But today we have a lot of things of geopolitical interest happening, and we have this planetary parade tonight, and it is extra sticking out to me because it's gearing up for this eclipse on March 14th and another eclipse on March 29th. And this is the chart of the sky from about noon today, when a lot of things really went pretty crazy. Check out this chart of the upcoming solar eclipse on March 29th and notice that basically everything is all right in a row over here. And this is pretty crazy. Notice 1, 2, 3, 4 things in Pisces, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in Aries. Pisces deals with endings and endings and loss. It's the end of the zodiac. Pisces is the end. And Aries is the new birth. It's the beginning. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, holy cannolis, we are looking at some serious rebirth happening, serious endings, serious rebirth, in a really interesting way. We're going to be seeing some, as you sow, so shall ye reap, justice coming forth to be served. We're going to deal with money situations, possibly loss of money, and especially delusion around money, delusion around male-female relationships, the role of sex versus gender. This is our thoughts and our communication and our interaction with the people around us. Here is the sun and the moon, all of our feelings, all of our core sense of self, and then deep wounding. Yikes. Wow. Holy cannolis. This is going to be a really intense eclipse when it happens, and a lot of resetting, like in a very big way. But let's go back. So I want you to think of how much everything right here is in Pisces and Aries, and then we're going to go back to today. Because today, in case you missed it, oh no, did I not save it? Oh, because it's a current transit. Okay, current transits. And let's go back to noon. Let's edit that chart to be for Washington, D.C., where all the fun went down today. Okay, oops. Sorry, I'm resetting the map. There we go. Calculate. There we are. Okay, so this, let's go back 1 more hour to noon. That's about right. Yeah, that looks about right. I haven't looked at the exact time of when everything went down, but as I was messing around with the charts earlier, I do know that 3 hours ago from the time that I'm recording this, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened. And we can see that it's the new moon right now. The sun and the moon together in Pisces. We've got this Saturn, we've got this Mercury, we've got this North Node, we've got this Neptune, and all of it is, I don't know, it's all in a row. This is quite a tight little stellium action if you count that with the North Node. This is a little bit looser with Saturn, but this is still a lot going on in Pisces, a lot of loss, a lot of endings. And so this is basically what happened. And this is important because all of this stuff with Ukraine really started on the date of America's Pluto return, indicating that the situation in Ukraine is going to be of extreme importance to the outcome of the United States of America as it navigates the denouement of the man, my fancy words knocked it out of my head, out of the Pluto return. Okay. So what happened is Pluto in 2020 to 2022 went back to where it was when America was first founded during 1776, the American Revolution. When Pluto hit that mark, it set off this chain of events, or perhaps it did not set it off so much as it reflected this chain of events that's going to take about 12 years to unravel. So I was in 2022, ending the unraveling in 2034. So now we're what, 3 years into this, and we've seen some. I mean, here's the thing: it hasn't, things haven't completely come undone or something like that. Like, still taking my kids to piano lessons and whatever, but hopefully we can see that things have gotten a little bit more unstable. There have been a lot of huge shifts in the past couple of weeks in particular. A lot of upheaval is happening right now, and it's starting in certain places here and there, but the upheaval, I think, is going to start extending to more and more people over time. So right now, my life is pretty stable, probably your life is pretty stable. But as things become increasingly unstable, in general, it's going to trickle down to more instability on a personal level as well. So let's talk about Ukraine for a minute, because that is the hot news of the hour. Let me see if I can find, okay. So basically what happened today was that President Zelensky met in the White House with President Trump and Vice President Vance, and they had like quite an interaction, basically. And I will leave you to decide what you think about all of that. But what I want to talk about is why it's important to America's Pluto return, and what are the implications now, and what does it mean for today with this planetary parade of all these planets lining up in Pisces and Aries, gearing up for this massive set of eclipses that's coming right up around the corner, March 14th, March 29th. My guess would be that we will see some pendulum swinging back and forth during those 2 weeks in particular. During eclipses, things get way more unpredictable and way more crazy on a personal level, typically, and also on a global level. And so, but I think that the stuff that we're gearing up for, I think today is a day where it really kind of got started, and I think it kicked off with having all those planets in a row. So, so this is what happened. You know what? Let me just share my screen. And so I'm sharing a screen from Twitter, X, and I know that people, oh, dang it. Some people say like, oh my gosh, you can't get your news from X, it's so biased. And frankly, I do not understand that. If you want to explain it to me, I would love that, because I get news from all sides of the aisle here. I feel like it's just incredibly balanced. And I hear from like the extremists on all sides and the people in the middle. And so I feel like it is the most unbiased thing that I have seen, but whatever. Anyways, I felt like this was pretty even-handed. Okay, here we go. This is from American Kinetics. I don't follow this person. Yeah, so I don't know who they are. I don't know where they stand, but this seemed like a pretty reasonable breakdown. So President Zelensky's White House visit collapsed into a diplomatic standoff, marking a shift in U.S. policy towards Ukraine. Trump, emphasizing America first, demanded economic and strategic concessions in exchange for future aid, while Zelensky resisted negotiations, leading to a public breakdown. This dispute carries significant implications for NATO, European security, and the ongoing war in Ukraine. So here are the key developments. Trump argued that future U.S. aid to Ukraine must serve American interests, particularly through access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Trump rejected unconditional assistance, framing past aid as a debt that Ukraine needed to address. Zelensky's miscalculation, according to the Sky, his refusal to acknowledge U.S. contributions and dismissal of the minerals deal weakened Kyiv's negotiating position. Trump's demand for economic reciprocity was rejected, resulting in no new agreements. Okay, so Trump says America first. Zelensky basically dismissed that and dismissed the idea that there should be like a two-way, situation here. So NATO realignment, Trump shifted the responsibility to Europe, urging NATO allies to take the lead in Ukraine's defense. And then, so just today, France, Germany, and the UK have been talking about even more, how do I put it? They're talking even more about increasing military and financial commitments to Ukraine. In the meantime, Russia does not see, there's no immediate battlefield shift. The Kremlin may attempt to exploit political divisions, but NATO remains committed to Ukraine's security. Public fallout, everybody's talking about it, and people, have their own opinions about what's going on. Was it respectful? Was it appropriate? All of that kind of thing. Okay, strategic implications, the European response. These leaders of these different countries are increasing coordination on financial and military aid, attempting to stabilize Ukraine's war efforts. The US-Russia dynamics, Trump's recent outreach to Putin signals a possible diplomatic shift, though its impact on Ukraine policy remains uncertain. Ukraine's new reality. With Europe assuming greater responsibility, Kyiv must adapt to a shifting support network while managing internal war fatigue. Zelensky's grip on power may also be slipping. Okay, and I was just going to pull up another thing on my phone, because this is one reason why I wanted to do this video. Alexander Dubinsky just called for an emergency session to impeach Zelensky after his Oval Office meltdown. So right now in Ukraine, they are talking about impeaching Zelensky, and okay, yeah, the thing that I had saved on my phone, it said the Ukrainian MP Alexander Dubinsky just called for an emergency session of Ukraine's parliament to initiate impeachment proceedings against President Zelensky after the Oval Office shouting match. So what we're looking at this exact day is a massive restructuring in the whole geopolitical world right now, basically. It is a little bit giving me like World War vibes as far as, all of these countries lining up to support who they are planning to support. And we will have to see how it plays out, as always. I mean, we can't just say, this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to be, but we can say this is really interesting and it is reflected in the stars. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stars. What did I X out of them? Okay, here we go. Hold on, I just got to share my screen. There we are. Okay. Oh no, am I sharing my whole screen? Stop share. I want to share just this. There we go. Okay. Man. So this sun and moon together for the new moon in Pisces. Anytime you have a new moon, you are having a reset, okay? You get to plant some new seeds. It's when your core sense of self and the emotions that are kind of overlaid on that self are the closest together and the most united that they will be. And it allows you to pivot in new and different and interesting ways. So if you think of like the sun and the moon and they're like off doing their like different stuff, during the new moon, they come together. And when they come together, it's easier to change direction. And that is what is so exciting about a new moon. On a personal level, we get to use this time. I mean, do it today. Today, why don't you go ahead and take some time to think about what you want to experience differently in your life. This is actually the new moon that kicks off this eclipse cycle. So this is a big deal personally and globally, as we can see. This is the new moon that's kicking off these eclipses coming up, kicking off a period of instability that is not meant to be bad. Just to be clear, instability is not bad, even though humans don't like it. Like, we instinctively reject uncertainty and instability. We find them terrifying at worst, or really irritating at best. And yet the reason why we experience these things is because it's important for the human experience. It's because our job here is to gain experience, and the way that you gain experience in reality and the way that you become wise is getting the opportunity to face situations of uncertainty and situations of instability. When we face those things, learn how to trust our bodies, and especially learn how to trust God, you know, as we are willing to turn to God in humility and say, okay, God, what do I need to change? What do you need to change? What am I supposed to ask for? What am I supposed to do next to make sure that things turn out right for me? As we communicate with God and as we tune into the feelings that we're experiencing in our own bodies as we're making these decisions in the face of this uncertainty and instability, that is where we learn wisdom. That is where we level up, you know? So this is a big leveling up opportunity. And it also starting with today's new moon and this pivot, okay? We get this chance to pivot, and geez, we sure are. I mean, on a global level, this shift may change a lot of things. Now, over here we have Saturn, and we can see that Saturn and the moon are ding ding right next to each other at 19 and 20 degrees. Oh, 19, and look at that, 39 minutes each. So they're exactly 1 degree apart, which is kind of fun. That Saturn is all about boundaries. It's all about restrictions, but it's not usually there. It's not there to punish you. It's not there to restrict you because it's a bad guy. It's there to be the guardrail so you don't run your car off the side of a cliff. You know, Saturn shows up and restricts you um, for your best good, even when it's really annoying when it does it. It's really there to be the guardrail. Saturn governs the law of the harvest. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. And I think that probably everybody of all political spectrums can agree that we are seeing some serious Saturn conjunct the new moon situations today. Okay, what we are seeing is a big Saturn in Pisces event conjunct the new moon. Why? Because I think everybody would agree that we are now seeing the law of the harvest in action, and people from different political views are going to see that in different ways. So for example, so people might say, wow, well, Trump was so rude, Trump was so mean, and now look what he gets. Look, all of these European countries are against him now. They're all teaming up with Ukraine, and like, you get what you get. Look what you planted and look what you reaped. And then at the same time, another person could say, wow, you know, Zelensky was really rude. Zelensky has been really ungrateful, and he's unwilling to negotiate. And so now today, the US just cut I'm looking it up. Well, maybe I can't do it fast enough. My understanding is that they cut support to the Ukraine electrical grid today in response. So it's like I mean, like, it's a big deal. And so the same people can say, well, look at that. Like, Zelensky, you know, planted these seeds and now look what he's harvesting, you know. But I hope you can see that people on all sides of the political spectrum can look at the same situation and say, ho, 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 well, what you plant, you harvest. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And so I just want to honor everyone on all political sides. Like, can you see this? Can you see that there is a major theme of as you sow, so shall ye reap here? And how you personally see it may be different from how other people see it, but everybody should hopefully be able to see this massive theme, okay? And then right here, we also have Mercury, the planet in charge of communication, the planet in charge of neighborly interactions, the planet in charge of travel, uh, man, and in charge of short meetings, which this was a short meeting, you know, and I think that this whole thing just goes. And of course, this meeting all apparently happened around noon. I don't have the exact time on me. So if you have the exact time, cool. It'll be too late for this video, but maybe we'll look at it in a future video. But Anyway, sorry, at noon, I mean, the sun is shining right there. Like it's the midheaven. It's like at the exact moment that the sun is the highest in the sky, it's shining down on all the land, bringing things to light. And here we have all this stuff being brought to light. I mean, God, so much of it was on camera. I've like been watching all these clips and seeing all the memes and everything like this. Um, it's all right out there in the open. And here we are. Here's the North Node, which to me just kind of lends to me this feeling of a little bit of inevitability that this, I don't know, this is the time, this is what was going to happen. It's happening. I don't know. And here we have, of course, Neptune sandwiching the whole thing, wrapping up this massive bunch of stuff happening in Pisces. And of course, Neptune governs Pisces. It adds that extra little oomph of either spiritual connectivity or spiritual delusion. And you can see how people on all sides of the political spectrum will look at it and say, well, that player is clearly divinely inspired. That player is clearly super delusional. And I hope you can see that people on all sides of the spectrum are going to see this, like they're going to see it from their own personal perspective, and their own personal perspective is your personal perspective divinely inspired, or is it totally delusional? Okay, is my personal perspective, divinely inspired or totally delusional? This is like the big question. But the thing to remember is that everybody is walking that line of being inspired or being delusional. We all walk it every day. And every day we all have to wake up and say, God, keep me from being delusional. And we have to tune in and practice using wisdom and asking God how to think and how to feel about these different situations that come up. Over here, we have Venus in Aries. Man. And I think that this is a really interesting placement for what we've seen today, because Venus, oh, and of course it's opposite the black moon. Okay, so this is what we're seeing right here. Venus deals with money. Venus deals with money that people receive and that they give and receive. Okay, it's all about that giving, receiving. And in Aries, Aries is combative. Aries is the resetter. It's the new beginning. And here we have a little bit of a combative reset around issues of money on a global scale. I feel like this checks out. And then look at that. It's at 10 degrees, and over here at 9 degrees, we have the black moon, who deals with boundaries and who deals with, I mean, to me, she kind of reminds me a little bit of Saturn. They've got different vibes, but she, to me, also deals with boundaries, kind of laying down the law. The black moon in Libra, where Libra can tend to be pretty generous. Venus rules Libra. The black moon is not really generous. That's like not really what she's doing. The black moon is all about, I mean, look, she'll just tell you how it is. She's the medicine woman. She is there to do what has to be done and let the chips fall where they may. And it feels like you can see how people on all sides of the spectrum can look at this and say, well, Zelensky, he said what had to be said and let the chips fall where they may. And at the same time, people can say, well, look at Trump. He said what had to be said and let the chips fall where they may. The thing that I want us to remember is that people have all sorts of different perspectives, but the vibe of the perspective is still reflected in the heavens, God's clock, that we're all living through God's clock right now. Now, this is all very interesting, again, because we have to bring it back to the Pluto return. So I'm pulling up that chart right now. Okay, Pluto return. Hold on, guys. Okay, return. America's third Pluto return. Okay, select. Okay. Oh, ho, ho, guys, look at that. Would you look at that? Okay, I'm going to show you. We need to look at, okay, recently used. These transits, look at that. On America's Pluto return, The moon was at 18 degrees of Pisces, and all of this just happened as the transiting moon. Oh, I didn't even share it. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's try it again. Here we are. Okay, this is on the inside. This is today. Okay. No, it's not. Let's flip around. Boop. Okay. On the inside now is today, and then on the outside is America's Pluto return. And America's Pluto return took place, the third one took place when the moon was at 18 degrees of Pisces. And here we see that all of this big drama at the Oval Office today took place exactly as the moon was transiting 18 degrees of Pisces. So all of us, we need to take note. I need to take note. When we are looking at things of a geopolitical relevance in the context of America's Pluto return, I think it's going to be wise to keep an eye on that moon. And especially when the moon is in Pisces, and especially when anything is hitting that 18 degrees of Pisces spot on the chart. That is just too bizarre. I did not look at this before right this second, but immediately I'm like, holy cannolis. This is pretty crazy. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, interesting. Our current Jupiter today, it just has been hanging out with America's natal Mars, or not natal Mars, but the Pluto return Mars. Very, very interesting. And let me take a quick look at the grid. Okay, America's Pluto return Mars squaring the sun and sextiling Venus. Mars deals with conflict. So conflict about our core sense of self, conflict around money. Yeah, I think that checks out. Look at that Mars trining Pluto. Ooh la la. And it says that the ascendant of America's third Pluto return is conjunct the transiting. Okay, that's a little bit loose, but still interesting. Anyway, at the end of the day, I think the thing that really sticks out to me here is definitely going to be that 18 degrees of Pisces. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Now, as we are moving forward into this interesting new place, I have a lot of thoughts about it. I've been pretty quiet here on YouTube lately, because of a whole lot of reasons that are not that important for right this second. But the point is, there is a lot happening right now, and I've been keeping my eye on it and just not talking about it. What we are basically seeing is the voluntary dismantling of the United States as a hegemon, as the world unipower. So what has happened for the past, since World War II, World War II ended, and, we had the Cold War, but really, like, America has been the boss. Like, we've been like the biggest player in the world, and it is not sustainable, in my opinion. I don't think it's sustainable with environmental stuff, particularly with population shifts and demographic shifts and certain demographic declines. It's just not possible for one nation to rule them all forever. Sorry, Lord of the Rings. But anyway, at some point, Social Security is going to run out of money. At some point, we're not going to have the population to support a Navy. And when that happens, that's the end of, international trade as we know it, because right now the American Navy is single-handedly responsible for stopping piracy on the high seas. There's a whole book about this called The End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zeihan, and it's very good, and I'm probably butchering it, but I think that my general ideas are correct on that. He really goes through and lays out the next 100 years and what it is likely to look like because of these trends that are already happening, and some of them are not reversible. Basically what is going on is America cannot occupy the place that it has occupied on the world stage forever. We've poured in endless amounts of money into all sorts of countries and causes, and and you can't do that forever. And particularly, you cannot do that forever when your own population um, undergoes the kinds of demographic shifts that make it impossible in the long term. And so our choices as a nation have been to face it when it comes to that, to just like keep throwing money out the window until we can't, and it's like a sudden disaster, or we can voluntarily phase out the American hegemony and step into a more multipolar world where we are treating other nations as equals and requesting or even demanding equal treatment rather than kind of acting as the benevolent hegemon or the the malevolent hegemon, depending on your perspective. But what we're seeing right now is the voluntary dismantling of the American hegemon. And this is a massive global shakeup. This is really interesting in the context of that Pluto return, where we are already looking at America having to dissolve and evolve to face another 244 years. Okay, that's what the real invitation there is of the Pluto return. How well are we going to dissolve? Will we do it voluntarily? How well are we going to evolve, and will we do it voluntarily? And that's the thing about Pluto. You can work with Pluto or you can work against Pluto, but Pluto is going to win. It is going to show up in your life and make your life crazy. And I have a lot to say about that. My own solar return this year is out of control. I'll show it to you guys on a different day. You will not even believe it, but it is high in Pluto and 8th house and Scorpio energies. And I tried to fight it in the first 3 months after my birthday, and then I gave up and said, you know what, I can't fight it. And I don't know. I've been a little bit in hiding myself as far as I've just been a little bit more of a hermit, and I haven't enjoyed it. It's been horrible. But I've had to go through the cocoon process where you literally dissolve so that you can evolve. And that is, I think, what is going on with America right now. Is a dissolve and evolve process. Look, dissolving is never fun. Triggering massive endings that impact many, many lives, it's not fun for people. Like, people don't enjoy that. It's not like what we wake up and feel like we want to do that day. But it is happening, and it is necessary. I want to take a look. In my opinion, I would rather have us voluntarily dismantle the hegemon rather than have it forced upon us by surprise when our freewheeling ways catch up to us. We have to remember that when America was founded, this is America's nodal path. It goes from the dark side of Aquarius to the light side of Leo. The point of America's life journey is to learn the big lessons going away from Aquarius and to Leo. Aquarius is the humanitarian. Aquarius is the one throwing money out the window, hoping it can save the world. I would say that's the dark side of Aquarius, the irresponsible attempt to save the world. I think there are responsible ways to help save the world. Like, I believe that people should do their part to do what they can to bless other people, and that is important to me, as I hope you have figured out by now. But I think there's an appropriate way to do it and an inappropriate way to do it. And our job in America is to learn the inappropriate way to do it and then stop doing that and move into what? Leo is about putting yourself first. It is actually about saying, I would love to give you some financial aid, but it does have to be a good deal for me. That is the Leo way, and that is the North Node for the United States. So I know that may be controversial, but what I'm seeing here is some interesting progress or interesting, steps surrounding this axis. Are we moving, like, how are we handling humanitarian aid and trying to save the world? And how are we putting America first? Knowing that in the context of America's birth chart, America has a duty to put itself first. And as long as it is engaging in the dark side of humanitarian aid and humanitarian activity, that, I mean, it, when you look at those nodes in a personal chart, the South Node is the addiction. The South Node is the place where the yucky problems are going to show up for you, because they are supposed to slingshot you to the other side so you can learn the lesson of the other side. I have a lot to say about that too. My own natal North Node is Virgo to Pisces. And so I'm having my own nodal return. Right now it'll be exact around Christmas, but we deal with this on a personal level, and here we're seeing it in a national way. And I feel like we're seeing it kind of in real time. You can agree or disagree with what is going on an administrative level, in the nation, but hopefully we can all agree that what is happening along that axis. Does that make sense? We can say, well, cutting this aid or cutting that aid, this aid was on the light side of Aquarius. This aid was important, the important kind of Aquarian activity. But hopefully we can all see that this exact administration is really leaning hard into the Aquarius Leo axis here, and choosing wholeheartedly into Leo. We will give you financial aid, but it has to benefit us too, kind of establishing different boundaries. This is an administration heavy on boundaries. I mean, literally, they're like putting up that wall on the border and making demands of our surrounding nations, demanding that they enforce boundaries, and so this is just a really interesting time to keep an eye on things, especially today. How interesting that today, with the new moon, with the sun and the moon together in Pisces, a brand new pivot, a lot of that law of the harvest: as you sow, so shall you reap. We are seeing the beginnings of some harvest. I think we're going to see more of that harvest in the next couple of weeks. And remember that as it builds, we live in a clock, right? Okay, so we live in this clock, and the hands are going around and around. And so every morning you get up, and it might be, I don't know, 6 or 7 in the morning, or whenever you wake up, and then you might eat breakfast. And then at noon you might eat lunch, and then at 5 or 6 you might eat dinner, and then at 10 you might go to bed, and then you're going to wake up in the morning and do it again. And we are living in a series of cycles that repeat themselves and that continue moving forward. Okay, everything keeps on moving and it keeps on going. And so the thing that I'm thinking here is that, today, with all of this crazy stuff going on in the sky and going on, in the news and in people's real lives right now, this is kicking off this eclipse cycle. And then we'll have this lunar eclipse on March 14th, where we're invited to let go of some big things in our lives. And we'll see it on a national and international scope as well. So keep an eye out for what people are being asked to let go of at that time. And then, and it's going to have to do with delusions. It's going to be an invitation about how we think and how we are seeing the world. We're going to be invited to see the world in a different way and to let go of old ways of perceiving. That is my guess here. Then 2 weeks later, on March 29th, we have that solar eclipse with all that stuff going on in Aries and all that stuff going on in Pisces, a big new beginning. And then we have to remember the clock keeps going, and that, to me, it's kind of like the strike of noon, and it's going to reset some things, and we're going to see the aftermath of that play out, particularly in the next 6 months, and then in the next 18 months, as it is all part of these different cycles, because we'll have a 6-month window until the next series of eclipses that are going to bring back up the stuff that happened in this series of eclipses. Okay, all of that, I feel done now. So thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to go check out my website, aliduzetclasses.com. Man, today, geez, if you are feeling stress about upheaval, I want to do, you guys all know. I want to do a lot of things that I have not been able to do as much as I have wanted to do, due to all of the circumstances of my life. This is my website though. Okay. Blessing session recommended if you feel stressed and don't know where your blessings are going to come from. Okay, 30-day money miracles challenge. I have a free version of this on YouTube right here, and just go to playlists and go to the 30 days of money miracles. Guys, today somebody posted in my Facebook group that she and her husband, he lost his job and they decided to do the 30-day money miracles challenge together. And he already got a new job, and she also got the perfect part-time dream job. And so guess what? You can see some money miracles. I'm going to recommend that. But the one I wanted to also especially recommend, oh my gosh, it's all in alphabetical order. Okay, coping with big changes. This one helps us deal with uncertainty. And so this, if you are feeling a lot of stress about things, I'm going to say go down there to coping with big changes, and that should help you, you know, feel better. Oh, and this is the fear clearing, also a really good one. Election stress deals with political stress. So all of those are going to be really excellent choices for today. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I've missed you guys. I missed doing this. I hope you're having a really great day. Despite the incredible upheaval that is happening, we can still have a happy day, even when many things in the world are not ideal. So take your deep breath, drink your water, stay hydrated, get some sleep. Remember that your job is to keep you happy and healthy, and everything else is really interesting, but you are the main character of your own story. So be sure that you are acting in your main character vibes. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.